Couple more chances to catch Concord football at home as the Mountain Lions welcome West Virginia Wesleyan to Callahan Stadium for a Mountain East Conference matchup on Saturday with the head coach, Cody Edwards. My name is Wes McKinney, and Coach, last week, tough defeat at Glenville State. Really evenly played game for about the last 50 to 55 minutes. Just caught a couple scores early by the Pioneers, but one of the lone bright spots, Tyler Mizell, accounted for basically 360 yards of offense, 100 yards rushing for the quarterback, threw for 230, didn't turn the ball over, played pretty much a clean game from start to finish.
Yeah, Tyler had a big week for us. He was able to, get some things going in the passing game for us, and obviously that's what he's known for. But he was able to get loose a couple times. They didn't have eyes on him. He was able to scramble around a couple times, and one of them being, I think, a 63-yard touchdown. And I didn't know. We were kind of joking. We didn't know he was that fast. He did a good job of getting away from the defense. And big day for him. He's a big piece of our offense. He's a big piece of our offense every week, but especially when he can have an impact in the running game as well. Because he's not typically known for that. He's typically known to be a guy who stands in the pocket and throws it, keeps plays alive when he has to. And he's run the ball at times, spotting here and there for us this year. But it's good to see him kind of get out and get in the open field there on Saturday.
Second game without Dom Collins in the starting lineup. Quay Moore and Keon Concepcion just continue to kind of chug along. Quay had a career day, 7 catches for 99 yards, 2 touchdowns. Keon still looking for that elusive first touchdown, but he's become a favorite target, 7 more receptions for the redshirt freshman. What did you see from those two guys in particular at Glenville State?
Those two guys have been guys who have been, plugging right along with us all season long. They've been starters since day one, and they've had a big season up to this point. But in Dom's absence, because we were able to spread that workload 3 ways. Now that workload is being spread, with a lot more responsibility on those 2 guys, and they've done a good job of really picking up the extra slack. With having Dom out the last couple of weeks, they've picked up the slack and really been able to help move us forward. Then beyond that, we've got another 5 to 6 guys who can get in there and have made catches and made big plays for us this year. So, that we mentioned, 3 or 4 tight ends that'll get in there and make some plays as well. So we've got guys who do a good job in that area. It's a pretty deep room in terms of pass catching ability. So, we've been able to pick up the slack, but Dom and Keon have definitely been able to pick up even more of the slack, than they were earlier in the year.
Let's turn the chapter to West Virginia Wesleyan. The strongest position group for the Bobcats is an important one. It's the defensive line. They lead the conference or near the top of the conference in sacks. They create about 4 to 5 negative plays per game. How do you protect against this very powerful Bobcats defensive line?
Yeah, it's been a topic of conversation since Sunday. As soon as we started that breakdown, that's the first thing that jumps off the screen at you when you watch their film is how good, how athletic, their defensive line is in terms of making plays and causing negative plays. And that's one thing we've been talking about since Sunday is just because it's hard to score touchdowns when you take negative plays, whether it's by way of sack or tackles for loss or penalties. It's really hard to keep drives alive and move drives because it gets you behind the chains, it gets you off schedule. So for us, even since we started looking at Wesleyan, it's been how are we going to come up with a plan, whether in the run game or from a pass protection standpoint, to slow down what they do up front, because they do have some guys up front who can really make a difference in the ball game.
Let's talk about one of those guys just briefly here. Riley Slaughter, great defensive lineman name, leads them in tackles. TFL's right around a half dozen, 3 sacks on the year. Are they going to predominantly put him on the outside, or is he going to line up, at a variety of places?
Yeah, they'll do some different things with him. And for us, initially, he again, kind of their D-line jumps off the page, and he jumps off the screen, right away as well. And he's a guy that we know we have to target. He's a guy that we know we have to do some things specifically to stop and understand where he's at to make sure that if we're running toward him, we've got a great plan. If we're running away from him, we're doing some things to slow him down so he just can't chase us down from the backside. So, he's a dynamic player. They'll move around quite a bit, so we definitely have to have a plan for him.
Offensively, it's been a bit of a revolving door for the Bobcats at quarterback. 3 different signal callers this year. I think they have 13 interceptions between them. How do you guys create turnovers against this Bobcat team? Because you guys went without a turnover at Glenville State. When you guys have won games this year, you guys have taken the ball away.
Yeah. I think for them, it really has been kind of a quarterback by committee. For us, our plan and what we intend to do is kind of our same plan every single week. Sometimes that plan works better than others, but if we can do different things from our blitz and rush standpoint, if we can do different things in the pass coverage wise, to put doubt in the quarterback's mind or doubt in the offensive coordinator's mind in terms of what coverage we're going to be in, what we're going to play, where we might be bringing rushers from. If we can put doubt in those 2 places, and then the run game, we always want to move our front and put some doubt in the offensive line's mind. So if we can put doubt in those three places, it gives us an opportunity to make some plays. You take a guy like Corey Radcliffe, who's had a big year for us in terms of interceptions. He does a really good job of disguising coverages, and that's something we didn't do a very good job of against Glenville State, which probably speaks to the lack of turnovers we had there. But so turnovers have been a major emphasis for us this week in practice in terms of our disguises and how we're getting to our coverages, but also ripping at the ball, getting the ball out. We've worked a number of turnover circuits this week just to make sure that we're emphasizing to our defense that we don't lose our identity, that we're about taking the football away, and so we've worked on that quite a bit this week.
Very last thing, your rushing game is starting to gain some ground, no pun intended, but over 230 yards rushing last week. You're going up against a Bobcat defense that allows right about that same number on the ground. How do you guys keep that positive momentum going and take a little bit of pressure off Tyler?
Yeah, absolutely. I thought we did a really good job last week, and we have sort of a running back by committee. We'll play at least 3, sometimes 4 of those guys in a game, and so the rushing yards kind of get spread out a little bit, but I think our offensive staff has done a really good job of continuing to find. Early in the year, we were trying to find 3 and 4 yards runs. Now we've done a pretty good job of finding those 4, 5, 6, 7 yard runs. The one thing that I think we're really missing in our rushing game right now is finding explosives. We've got to get our guys into open space, get them running through green grass, and find explosive plays. Because if you can make, we've done a good job at times of finding explosive plays in the pass game. If we can find some explosive plays in the run game, it takes some of that pressure off our passing game and having to find explosives there all the time. We want to try to find some explosives in the run game this week.
Concord and West Virginia Wesleyan coming up Saturday afternoon, 2 o'clock kickoff from Callahan Stadium. You can watch the game a couple of different ways, of course, on MEC TV, but it'll also be on WVVA right here, NBC affiliate in the Bluefield market. For the head coach, Cody Edwards, my name is Wes McKinney, and we thank you for watching.